President Trump may use emergency powers to stop a caravan of migrants from crossing the U.S. border.
It's like an invasion.
We've all heard about it.
These illegal caravans will not be allowed into the United States.
But why are they making this desperate journey?
Cuando aquí tierras americanas no quiere decir que yo sea una delincuente.
What would push them to take these risks?
Secretary of Defense James Mattis is also expected to sign an order to send hundreds of active duty troops to the border.
There were people who believed that your agents were ripping children out of the hands of their parents.
Yo he visto visitar varias familias que ellos viven de una tortilla al día.
I've heard about the violence that drives people northward.
Si tú te metes con alguien te gusta para matar. Me mataron a mí.
Then I heard about something else. Something that may push millions to migrate.
Va a llenar normalmente.
Climate change.
The dry corridor that is particularly vulnerable to this issue of climate change and its impact on food security.
The migrant crisis is partly a climate crisis.
If unprecedented changes are not made and made soon, there will be irreversible damage to the planet.
And this exodus may be just the beginning.
They should turn back now.
I've been covering immigration and the border for decades. And when I was a kid, we lived south of San Diego. Our backyard literally 100 yards from the border.
Our concept of operations is to flow in our military assets with a priority.
But up till this year, I've never seen the border so militarized.
To build up southern Texas, and then Arizona, and then California.
Or migrants so politicized.
The president's pushing immigration as a top midterm issue. He's pointing to a caravan of migrants escaping poverty and violence, making their way through Central America.
As a journalist, I want to cut through the noise. So I'm going to spend time with today's migrants to find out who they are, what new barriers they face, and why they're coming. Nogales, Mexico. This is one of the places where you can cross illegally through the desert or try to make a legal claim of asylum. Until recently, the U.S. would grant asylum if you were a victim of gang violence or domestic violence. But the Trump administration is no longer accepting these reasons and no longer taking asylum applications from people who entered the U.S. illegally. Policies for which the administration is being taken to court. I'm heading to a migrant shelter where refugees are waiting to see if they'll be allowed into the U.S. Like Rosa.
¿Quieres pedir asilo?
Sí, ya no quiero regresar a Guatemala porque me da miedo que me vuelva a pasar lo mismo, que yo vuelva a perder a otro hijo.
¿Qué sucedió?
Que sí, mi esposo es muy agresivo. Pero él me agredía físicamente y en un día de esos que él y yo estábamos discutiendo, mi bebé cayó de una altura de 2 metros de una banqueta.
Ay, Dios.
Y él cayó de cabeza.
I see on Rosa's scarred face the pain of too many women from Central America, where violence against women and children is amongst the worst in the world. Rosa says she has no option but to apply for asylum, even if, with the new policies, the odds are against her. And asylum seekers like her must now wait on the Mexican side of the border, another new policy being challenged in court. Seemingly undaunted by all the new hurdles, migrants line up to apply for asylum at the border itself. One of them is Telma, who's come with her daughter from Guatemala.
¿Y por qué estás aquí?
Estoy aquí porque en mi pueblo me han mandado extorsionar, ya me la andaban secuestrando a mi niña. Entonces, por eso vengo buscando mi refugio.
El hecho que esté pisando aquí tierras americanas no quiere decir que yo sea una delincuente.
A woman who we call Maria requested that we not show her face to protect her identity. She's afraid the cartel will recognize her and kill her and her children.
¿Cómo estás?
Bien.
¿Tienes miedo?
Pues miedo porque...
¿Qué pasó?
Me mataron a mi hijo. Tenía 15 años.
Ay, no.
Y hace 3 meses que tampoco sé nada de mi marido. También lo levantaron nomás así.
She says her son was killed while she was forced to watch. Fearing her other 2 kids might be next, she fled. After meeting these desperate people, I'm left wondering whether even the tough new border policies will keep Central Americans from coming, and whether the answer might lie in Central America itself. I need to go there. I've arrived in Guatemala City, the largest metropolis in all of Central America, and one of the world's most dangerous. This small, poor country is awash in guns and gangs, and sees 101 murders a week. Its neighbors aren't very different, so maybe it's not surprising that 150,000 leave the region every year.
La vida es difícil aquí. Sí, es difícil. Porque llegue mucha mujer y muchos niños a la frontera de Estados Unidos pidiendo asilo, que las van a atacar.
Sabiendo que aquí es un país, si tú te metes con alguien te gusta para matar.
While I'm in Guatemala City, I hear that if I want to fully understand the Exodus, I need to visit the countryside. So I'm heading to a little town called Chiquimula. My guide is Gustavo Vicente, an agronomist with the World Food Program.
¿Qué cosechan aquí?
Maíz y frijol en un alto porcentaje.
¿Y por cuántos años ha pasado la sequía?
Más o menos 4 años.
I've been reading that the drought is made worse by El Niño. When the ocean is warm off the coast, just south of here, it leads to very dry weather patterns. Making this even more ominous, research suggests El Niños are becoming more frequent in a warming climate. And the effects of the drought are plainly visible and, frankly, pretty disturbing.
Creciendo aquí y este no es nada.
Ya no, ese ya no nada.
Y no va a madurarse entonces.
Ya no va a llenar normalmente.
It started to grow, and then the rain stopped. And this is the result.
Bueno, entonces voy a dar la vuelta aquí. Este es de Guareruche. Con el Eusebio. Aquí con el Eusebio.
Sí, en el campo.
Gracias.
Finally, we make it to the village. A farmer named Vidal welcomes us into his home, a house that's made of mud and straw.
Gracias.
It may not seem like much, but these people have been living this way for centuries. And for centuries, they've lived off staples like corn tortillas.
¿Cómo estás? ¿Es puro maíz y agua?
Ajá, puro maíz.
¿Maíz molido nomás?
Ajá, maíz molido.
Con agua.
Con agua.
Todo, no tiene nada, manteca o nada?
No, nada.
While we wait for lunch, the farmers tell me they depend on the crops both for their income and their food, and how they're dealing with more than a month without rain.
¿Me pueden platicar un poquito cualquier persona de la sequía?
Y durante esos 4 años siempre nosotros hemos tenido pérdida, porque todo lo que hemos sembrado.
Acá nosotros vivimos de lo que nosotros sembramos. Póngale en mayo, sembramos lo que es la milpa y el frijol. Entonces, pero estos días nos fue mal.
¿Cómo que se fue mal?
Las milpas se secaron y ahorita casi no tenemos nosotros qué comer para el más allá.
¿Y por cuánto tiempo pueden vivir en lo que tienen ahorita?
De mi persona tal vez podría yo llegar a noviembre.
Tienes bastante dinero para
Dinero no
seguir.
Porque no tenemos empleo, no tenemos trabajo.
Este es el trabajo.
No vamos a cosechar nada, ¿va? Porque perdimos todo.
Yo he visto visitar a varias familias que ellos viven de una tortilla al día. De una tortilla. Entonces sí.
Una tortilla por persona.
Persona, el día. A peor vamos ahorita. Ya nos vamos a tratar de mejorar. Yo creo que esto ya es un calentamiento.
I didn't want to just take his word for it, so I went back to the capital, to the headquarters of the UN's World Food Program. If the WFP is active in Guatemala, it's because the country is at or near crisis.
Would you know how vulnerable the country is to climate change? What happens if there is a drought? What happens if there is drastic climate change here?
Well, Guatemala has a particular region which is part of a regional area known as the Dry Corridor of Central America that is particularly vulnerable to this issue of climate change and its impact on food security.
Laura says the WFP wanted to assess the vulnerability. So last year they sent their experts into farming villages hardest hit by the drought.
What we saw was indeed a large number of families that lost their access to food. So they were selling land, they were selling tools, they were selling other items that are extremely important for their livelihoods.
She says that means the families were about to leave. The WFP also found that nearly half the people in the dry corridor are food insecure, which is UN speak for not having enough to eat. The crop failure and hunger are at levels never documented in the region before. And going hungry doesn't qualify you for asylum in the US or other countries. But try telling that to the farmers of Guatemala, who are selling their possessions and looking northward because of what they're finding in their fields.
Ya no va a salir, mira. Hay unos que te sirvió, pero esto no.
Esto todo está perdido.
Está perdido. Todo eso está perdido. Por eso muchos se han intentado ir para Estados Unidos, porque como aquí solo hay pobreza, solo hay sequedad, por eso uno se arriesga mucho la vida.
Indeed, there are thousands willing to risk their lives, leaving every day from the region. In a few weeks, they'll arrive in Nogales or another border town and will have to wait, or cross illegally. And if climate trends continue and parts of Central America become virtually uninhabitable, millions of people may be compelled to attempt this journey and end up at the U.S. border. Perhaps far sooner than we think.